I'd like to talk with you about charter schools, all right? Because there's some really good things happening with charter schools. But before I do that, let me have my own little disclaimer, all right? Number one, I do not believe in government schools. Anybody who watches this show regularly knows that. I don't believe it's ethically right, and I don't believe certainly that it reflects our Constitution to point a gun at your neighbor's head and to force him to pay for your child's education, which is in effect what most government schools are. Number three, I don't believe that the government should have the right to steal your home and to force you to pay for other people's education. Because in most school districts in America, the schools are funded by property tax. And if you don't pay that property tax, they will take your home. That makes you a glorified squatter, all right? Sort of like a highbrow, well-dressed serf. Having said that, and a few other misgivings I have with charter schools, I am now prepared to give the devil his due. Or put another way, if you do have a galley slave ship that is full of slaves, I don't believe in galley slave ships, but if you've got them, then at least the slave should have proper food, proper water, proper sanitation, right? Ventilation, etc. So let's talk about some of the successes of charter schools. In quick terms, in broad brushes, charter schools emerged in the early 90s. The first charter schools were in Minnesota, and they've grown exponentially since then. They were a key part of President Bush II's No Child Left Behind policy. And basically what a charter school is a way for tax money to be used as an alternative to the current public school in the area. And they became exceptionally popular, and still are, in areas where the public school had abysmal testing scores, all right? So for the parents who did not have the resources economically or the creativity or the willpower to homeschool, or did not have a Catholic parochial school with free or low tuition in the area, or the parents who couldn't afford or didn't want to put their children in an evangelical Christian school, charter schools offered an option. And basically, and this varies from state to state, but basically what separates a charter school from a public school, even though it's using tax money, just like a public school, is that they are exempt from some of the rules and regulations, either at the state level or the federal level. And in many cases, they are not required to hire teachers that are part of a union. Keep that little tidbit in your mind, all right? All right, now let's go to the good news. For example, in New York City, when Mayor Bloomberg, who I despise as a public figure, when Bloomberg came to the office in the early 2000s, there were 17 charter schools in New York City. When he left, there were over 150, and some 70+ thousand kids were enrolled in them out of the New York City school system. Now, to show their success, in citywide testing, 30% of the children in the public schools had proper math scores for the grade that they were in. Only 30%. But in the charter schools in New York City, the number was 82%. In language arts, the average child in New York City school system, public school, was at 28%. But in the charter schools, they were at 58%. Again, different rules, different curriculum. Some of them have longer school days. Some of them have longer school years. They're exempt from certain state and federal regulations. And again, they don't have unionized teachers. Well, there came to power a Pharaoh who knew not Joseph. Mayor Bill Deblazio. Yes, Bloomberg was a Republican and Deblazio is a Democrat. And one of his first decisions was to revoke the charter school status of 3 schools in New York City, one of them in Harlem, by the way, that happened to share a building with a government school. Now, why would he do that? It's really simple. He believes in unions. The teachers in New York City are not, in the charter schools, are not a part of the union. And so the union president for New York City, Michael Mulgrew, he is praising the mayor for beginning to rein in these charter schools. And what does that tell you? That the mayor and that teachers union, they're not concerned about the education of children. Because if they were, they would want as many charter schools as possible. Let them share the building. No, no, no. This is about party politics. The education and the welfare of these children be darned. Mr. Mayor, you should be ashamed of yourself for using children's lives for your political, partisan agenda. In this decision, you have been a disgusting mayor. And let's just watch the backlash, folks, because this is not over. This is going to become national news, similar to what happened in Arizona. We'll see what happens. This is the voice of resistance.